everybody, I'm coming to you live from Stone Zoo today with our coatis for National Raccoon Appreciation Day. These guys are actually cousins of the raccoon. So right here in front of me we have Arrow. This is our 4-year-old male. And down below we have Honey. This is our newest female. She's 7 years old. So I'm feeding them a little bit of meat today. So they are omnivorous. So these guys, that means they eat a variety of foods. They get egg, meat, they get fish, they get some grapes, they get banana, and they get kibble. Here you go, buddy. So there are 3 coatis in our band here. A group of coatis is called a band. So we have these 2 in front of us. We have Arrow, Honey, and Maya's on the other side of the exhibit. They have a double exhibit, which means that they can come and go either side whenever they please. And she went over to take a nap, so we will let her take a nap. She will be back later. So I'm one of their trainers here. There's 2 of us that train these guys. They are trained to do different behaviors. I have here what's called a target pole, so they can do things like target. Good boy. And then they get rewarded. We gave them their vaccinations recently, so that's one of the things we train for here. So that makes it easier for them and us to do medical procedures. And that's one of our main goals of training. So me and my coworker Joe are the trainers, so he's not here today, so that's why we're not really doing too much training. It does sometimes take 2 people since these guys are so active and curious. Make sure Honey gets some food as well. Honey isn't as dominant as the other 2. Maya is the most dominant of the 3. Maya is 12 years old. She was actually born here, so she's been here her whole life. Honey came to us from the Palm Desert in Texas, and Arrow in front of me here came to us from Boise Zoo. So these guys are here as part of a breeding program. They are in an SSP, which is a species survival plan. The goal is to breed them. So they're seasonal breeders, which means that come around February or March is when they're going to start breeding. They'll usually have about 2 to 7 pups in a litter, and when that happens, the females will go off on their own, which means we will separate Arrow from the group to simulate what would happen in the wild. And once the pups are about 4 weeks old, that's when the mom and the babies sort of rejoin their band. There can be bands of up to about it could be anywhere from 10 to 50 animals in the wild. So we just have our 3 here, so we might have more later on. But for now, we just have these guys. So these guys are, as I said, he's 4 years old. She is 7 years old. And Maya is 12 years old, and the average life expectancy in captivity is about 25 years. So these guys hopefully have a lot of more years in them to train and breed with us here. And these are related to raccoons. You can see if Arrow will turn around. Come here, buddy. You can see he's got a mask similar to a raccoon would. So he also has a very long tail. This tail is used for balance. So he doesn't have a prehensile tail, which means he can't use it as a hand, but he has this very long tail. And when they're walking, so if you look, you can see there's sort of bands on it. He is a white-nosed coati, as you can see by his white nose. And that means that these guys, the band here, that means that they can sort of use that to signal to each other. So they have different patterning on their tails, and when they're walking, they hold their tail erect, and that means that they can read these bands and know who's in their group and who isn't in their group. So there's 4 species of coati altogether. These guys are found in the lower United States, New Mexico, Arizona, and Texas, down into South America and Central America. So they also have very good feet for climbing. They actually spend a lot of time in the trees, and their ankles are actually double jointed, which means that they can turn them 180 degrees. So that means when they descend from the trees, they can actually come down head first. And they're really good swimmers too. So they also have partially webbed feet. They're not fully webbed, but they're partially webbed, which means that they can swim really well as climb really well. And if you notice they have long claws, that means they can actually dig very well too. So these guys, they will hunt for insects in the dirt. They can remove bark. They actually have a really good sense of smell. I have a scent enrichment I'll give them towards the end, so you can kind of see what they do when they get their yummy scents. But for now, Arrow is focused on eating, as he always is. They also have very sharp teeth. So if I can get Arrow to turn around again, I will show you his teeth. And this is why we're using tongs here. He has very sharp teeth, and they do hunt. So they will hunt things like small mammals, they will hunt insects, they will hunt they hunt birds, they hunt eggs. So the biggest thing they'd probably take down would be maybe like a squirrel. They could actually hunt down a squirrel. But these guys, they will also look for fruits, and they'll eat a lot of fruits from orchards, and that makes them actually a pest species in a lot of countries. And so that means that they are hunted in those areas. So that's why we have our species survival plan, to kind of get them up in areas like that where they're hunted. They are of least concern as of right now, but depending on where they are, for example, in New Mexico, you cannot hunt them because they don't have a high population, but in Arizona, because the population is so high, they're actually free to hunt any time of the year. So I ran out of food, which means it's time for scent enrichment. And these guys, you see their little noses, they actually have really good scent, and those little noses can move a full 60 degrees to look for food and scent mark each other. So males are really into scent marking. So this here is some Axe body spray, and you'll see he's going to self-anoint when he smells this. And what self-anointing is, that's when they rub their tails and they rub their scent glands all over it, as he's going to do right now. He pulls his tail around, and Honey wants to come around and get her scent as well. So I'm going to move over a little bit so she gets in on the fun. There we go. And you'll see she's going to start scent. There she goes. So this way, there's kind of different theories about why they do this self-anointing. One of the theories is that it is to keep pests away. So there are certain plants in the wild that act as pest control. So that's one of the things I think that they might do. Another reason they might do it is just because they want to remember the scent, so they kind of want to get it on them. And another one is to sort of bond with each other. So if they all smell the same, they're all going to belong to the same group, and therefore that they know that they're friendly. They know it's not an enemy approaching if they all smell the same. She's a little shy, so we'll put a little closer to her so she can join in. There she goes.
Want to take questions?
Yeah, are there any questions out there?
So Jen on Facebook asks, do they have any predators?
They do have predators. So a lot of the predators for these guys are things like big cats. So you can think jaguarundis, jaguars, ocelots, and some birds of prey like hawks. Large hawks will take them. Some boas will eat them. If they get too close to the ground, some crocodiles or alligators might go after them. Any more questions?
Do you guys have any questions? What about the coloring? Is there a reason that these two are colored differently? Or
the color they have is for camouflage. They do spend a lot of time in the trees. These guys, they're white-nosed coatis, like I said, so they're a little colored differently. They have that, she's sort of more that cinnamon that you get, and he's that darker coat. It's not a male-female thing at all. It's strictly just their genetics. The other species of coati are darker and lighter, but these guys, they just have different colors. And so there are multiple ways you can pronounce it. A lot of people say coati, a lot of people say coati. There really is no, one way or the other whether or not what's right, what's wrong. It's sort of, viewer's choice. I say coati just because when I was traveling around South and Central America where you can find these guys, that's how the locals would say it. So that's why I say it coati. You'll sometimes hear coatimundi, but that's actually the name for a single lone male. It literally translates to single male or lone male. So you'll hear coatimundi, that's usually just for single males. Any more questions?
Katie on Facebook asks, do you have a favorite species at the zoo to work with or train?
I do. I train with these guys, like I said, and I train with the bush dogs. So those are kind of two of mine. I really enjoy Central and South American animals. I've traveled there a lot, so that's why these guys are one of my favorites. But I like all the animals I work with. There is no animal I wouldn't work with here.
We good? Yeah, I think that's it.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in for this Zoo to You, and we will see you next time.